Yuta finishes a basketball game with his friend Ashura and encounters a young girl in a veil, who declares herself to be Odin and wants to play basketball with them. Yuta introduces her to Ashura, who dismisses her claims, making her angry. Odin tells them that the world is going to end in 30 days. Ashura then rides off on his motorcycle. Yuta learns that her real name is Hina Sato. Hina guesses that Yuta is in a hurry to meet someone in the library. Yuta is trying to convince her to go home, but Hina refuses and decides to follow him. The two reach the library and meet with Kyoko, who is busy studying. Their stay there doesn't last long as Yuta is thrown out of the place due to his outburst. Yuta then takes Hina to a ramen shop as she's hungry, and reluctantly starts to believe in her abilities when Hina correctly identifies the finishing position of a horse race. Afterwards, Hina offers Yuta her abilities to assist him in wooing Kyoko, in exchange for staying with him until the world ends, and sets up Yuta for a baseball game, where he plans to strike a grand slam, making his team win the game and impress Kyoko. Afterwards, in a baseball field, Yuta follows Hina's advice and faces failure. Yuta argues with Hina, claiming that she set him up for failure, and Kyoko witnesses everything. Hina convinces Yuta to be blunt with Kyoko. However, she flatly rejects him when he confesses. Afterwards, Hina asks Yuta to call his mother and asks if Hina can live there, and Yuta's mother eagerly welcomes Hina to stay at their home, much to Yuta's disbelief. Episode 2. Yuta and Hina arrive at Yuta's house, where Hina is greeted by his mother, Tokiko. Yuta's father, Daichi, also happily allows her to stay. During dinner time, Yuta's younger sister, Sora, is immediately surprised and intrigued by Hina. Afterwards, Yuta and Hina relax in Yuta's room, where the two play an RPG video game and Hina falls asleep. The next day, Yuta reveals that Kyoko became an introvert after her mother died. He also reveals how long he has had feelings for her. Hina hears Yuta lamenting about Kyoko and offers to help him again with another secret plan involving Sora's summer project for the film club. Hina decides to write the script so he can woo Kyoko. However, this plan fails, but Sora is at least satisfied with the final product. Hina suggests a myriad of other films they can use to get closer to Kyoko, all of which completely fail. Hina later reveals that Kyoko plans to become a music director and suggests composing a song for her. Yuta is not a virtuoso, but still Hina composes a song on the piano for him to learn and play. Yuta learns to play the song, and when he's ready, he contacts Kyoko to show her the fruits of his efforts. When Yuta attempts to play the song for Kyoko, he struggles to do so. Kyoko takes over and plays it. The sound of the song is notably uplifting. That night, the family enjoys dinner together, although Yuta is unhappy but satisfied that he made some form of progress. Tokiko then states that Sora isn't home. She's told by Daichi that she's over her senpai's house to learn how to write a movie script. Incidentally, Tokiko drops the plate that she was holding, and it was thought to be a bad omen of sorts. Just then, the doorbell rings, and a bruised Sora along with her senpai. As for now, 24 days remain until the end of the world. Episode 3. The next morning, Sora awakens to reveal that she got injured while helping her senpai, Hikari, deal with a moneylender. It turns out that Hikari's family runs a ramen shop, however it's gone into severe debt. Furthermore, the loan that they took out has outrageous interest attached to it that has to be paid off. Hearing this, Hina decides to help her and concocts a plan to create a new innovative ramen dish that will trend amongst the people, by having Yuta pretend to be Sora's uncle so he acts as a business consultant. Yuta visits the shop and orders the heavenly ramen. After tasting the ramen and searching around the restaurant, Yuta concludes that there isn't anything wrong with the shop. Finishing his meal, Yuta gives Hikari his card, claiming he's a ramen shop revitalizer, and he is there to help it for a low price of 100 yen a day. Although Hikari is reluctant to accept the offer, Yuta gives a convincing argument and claims within 3 days he can revitalize the shop. He then makes sweeping changes at the shop. Their first order of business is to change the name of the ramen heavenward to Fallen Angel. Next, they change the recipe to the house specialty, and although no additives is a specialty of the house, it's changed in flavor of adding MSG. The final product is a simple ramen dish that tastes wonderful. Sora arrives in the shop to help, and she helps the new sign be placed on top of the shop, as well as tries the new cold ramen dish, which is deemed delicious, which causes it to become a huge success. A young man, Hiroto, is being driven somewhere. While Hiroto is enjoying his food, a mother calls out for help and Hiroto decides to help her, using his hacking abilities to locate the mother's daughter. Back at the shop, Hikari is confronted by the loan shark, where Yuta, with Hina's help, defeats him. Afterwards, the truth is revealed to Hikari, and she's thankful to Yuta, Hina, and Sora for all their help. Elsewhere, Hiroto meets with a woman and is assigned to work with Raita to uncover information on a physicist named Suichiro Korogi. Episode 4. Hiroto tries to find a shred of information on his target, Suichiro Korogi, but all of his leads end up as dead ends. Raita then informs Hiroto about the interview of the CEO with the co-author of the thesis their target wrote, named Dr. Asama. By hacking into the camera used in the interview, Hiroto is able to eavesdrop on the conversation. The thesis, surprisingly enough, was about love, along with happiness, and how to quantify it. However, that was impossible. As to why he wanted to achieve such thing, it's speculated that he did for someone in his family. Yuta is watching Kako Tengan, a famous lawyer being interviewed on TV. Later, he now wins the Mahjong preliminaries online under Yuta's name. He reveals she did this in order to ensure that Yuta meets Kako in person at a Mahjong tournament she's organizing. The following day, Ashura and Kyoko meet up with Yuta in front of his house to cheer him on. Before the tournament begins, Kako speaks with the players beforehand and wishes them all the best of luck. Unfortunately, in the start of the tournament, Yuta plays atrociously, making his hand go bankrupt in just 2 hands. He then recalls the advice of Hina and puts it into play, making him rebound. And then, Yuta manages to win the tournament. Sitting alone backstage with his trophy, Yuta is approached by Kako, who tries to seduce him into returning to his room after the victory party. However, Yuta rejects her, stating that he's in an unrequited relationship with another woman. Not taking this rejection well, Kako loses her temper and has her bodyguard try and apprehend him, which in the process tears off the left sleeve of his father's suit. Managing to escape the bodyguard, he regroups with Hina and Ashura, learning that Kyoko had left earlier, and that 13 days until the end of the world remain. Episode 5. Kyoko and her father enjoy breakfast together, and Kyoko tries to convince her father to visit her mother's grave, but fails to do so. At the library, Kyoko reveals to Yuta how her father has been a recluse since her mother died. He promises to visit her mother's grave every year, but never does. Yuta then asks if that's why Kyoko is always in the library, to study with him, to which she bluntly confirmed that she wasn't doing it to hang with him. Afterwards, Yuta informs Hina of his dilemma, who scolds him and states that the end of the world is in 12 days. So Hina drags Yuta out of the house to Kyoko's house, in hopes to get Kyoko's father out of his house. Yuta finally succeeds when he claims that he needs help buying Kyoko a birthday present. The trio then take a train into town, and Kyoko's father is impressed with all the new changes around the town. In the restaurant, Kyoko's father enjoys some wine and recalls how he used to enjoy it with his wife. Afterwards, Kyoko's father reveals that his wife left video messages, and he asks Yuta and Hina to not tell Kyoko about them. The next day at the library, Yuta details that he has a magic phone that is connected to the afterlife. He offers Kyoko to use it to contact her mother, and when she does, Hina pretends to be Kyoko's mother. During the conversation, Hina mentions the video messages. Enlightened by this news, Kyoko rushes home and confronts her father about it. There, she and her father watch them together. When they watch the final message, Kyoko's mother uses her grand magic spell so they can be happy and move forward with their lives. Because of it, the two reconcile with each other and overcome their disheartened spirits. Eventually, the two visit Kyoko's mother's grave, and thanks Yuta for what he did for her. She also asks Yuta if there's anything that she can do for him, to which he thinks now is a perfect time to confess and ask her out. However, he fails to do so, making Hina lose her temper on him because of it. There are now 11 days left until the end of the world. Episode 6. Yuta is playing in the basketball preliminary tournament with Ashura. He wakes up and realizes that he was dreaming. Later, Hina asks him why people are wearing splendid clothes, and he reveals that there is a festival that is taking place. Hina insists that they must go, and Yuta must gather his friends and family. Yuta calls his friends and invites them along with his sister Sora. They both go to the festival, and Yuta praises Izanami looking at the way she's dressed up. Ashura also shows up and compliments Sora and Hikari, stealing Yuta's lines. Yuta's favorite lady, Kako Tengan, shows up. Tengan teases Hina about the way she is dressed. Hina says that there's no problem because she is a god, and Tengan asks who she is. Yuta replies that she is his relative. People around start to notice that Tengan is at the festival. Ashura says that there is more attention to them, and they must find a way to escape. They get inside the festival, deciding on what to do first, and all of them are thinking about getting food first. Yuta mentions different types of food, and Hina says that she wants to try them all. Yuta and friends enjoy various foods, and later they enjoy playing different games, and Ashura introduces them to a haunted house. They try it, and witness the scariest thing they ever saw before. They get scared thinking it is real, but they both manage to get out breathing heavily. Later, Ashura advises Yuta not to leave Izanami all by herself, and he goes to her. They sit down and enjoy sharing a snow cone. Meanwhile, Hina gets herself locked inside a festival truck. Since she was wearing a mask, she thinks that she was entering a room, and the truck left with her. Everyone panics and starts to look for her. Yuta and Ashura chase the ice house refrigerator truck that she's inside. They try to signal the driver, but he does not understand them. Yuta jumps on top of the truck and manages to talk with the driver. The truck stops and they get her outside the truck and she gets treatment, but she keeps on sneezing. Episode 7. Yuta is studying in his room when Hina walks in, saying the world will end in 7 days, and Sora has finished the script for her movie. Sora hands the script to Yuta and asks to be honest with it. When Yuta reads the script, he enjoys it, but finds lots of fantasy stuff which is quite difficult to shoot. He then asks Sora what's the minimum crew she needs to get the movie done. Sora says that she needs a director, a camera operator, someone on lights, in sound, and a producer. Hina advises him to drag everyone he knows. Yuta then gathers his friends to help shoot the movie. After seeing everyone, he realizes that he had made a lot of friends during the past few days, and feels so happy. Since there is some time left to start shooting, Hina insists Yuta to play the video game while his friends are enjoying watching them. Once Sora finishes the storyboard, she explains the plot of the movie and they finalize the roles. On the day of the shoot begins, Yuta and Hina play the lead roles. After shooting some scenes on the first location, they go to the second location and begin to shoot the next scene. However, the movie runs into several problems. While they are taking a break, Yuta tells Hina how he has enjoyed hanging out with her, and he praises her for helping everybody. When the shoot resumes, there are problems with the CGI, until Hina finally fixes it. Night falls, and they decide to continue the shoot the next day. Later that night, Yuta teases Hina about how much she enjoyed herself. Meanwhile, Hiroto is still investigating when he finds Kurogi's torn down house. When he learns the possessions have been sent to the recycling plant, he heads there just in time to grab a picture that has Hina in it. Episode 8. Hina has a dream of her grandfather encouraging. She wakes up and is comforted by Yuta's mother. While everyone is at the set preparing for the shoot, Yuta wonders what is going to happen to all of them when summer ends, and that Hina is going to leave him soon, and he needs to be ready when that day comes. When he expresses his concerns to his parents, they reveal that Hina is actually the granddaughter of their mentor, and that Hina's father abandoned her after her mother passed. Yuta asks how long she is going to stay. His parents tell him to figure it out himself or ask Hina. After Yuta has a conversation with Hina about when she became a god, they decide to go meet her father. They leave by train to the place where her father lives. When they arrive at his house, Hina's father and stepmother, Toshitoku and Isuzu Sato, are shocked when they see Hina in person. Toshitoku comforts Isuzu and requests the two to wait outside the gate and talk outside. Outside, Hina runs to see the ocean. While Yuta and Toshitoku are alone, Toshitoku apologizes and reveals Hina was born with a debilitating condition known as Logos syndrome, which attacks the nervous system, resulting in cerebral atrophy and neurologic muscular atrophy, which caused him to abandon her when he realized there was nothing he could do to help her. Hina's father explains everything and tells Yuta that he should not have brought her here, since he can do nothing about it. Once Yuta and Hina leave, Yuta is agitated about the situation and keeps thinking about it all the time. Episode 9. While everyone is at the set, Hiroto secretly observes Hina and Yuta and trying to figure out how Hina can fully recover. He then decides to go home and continue his analysis. At his house, Hiroto makes a shocking discovery about Hina and Yuta. Hiroto then has a dream, where his parents are using his hacking skills to launder the money and abuse him. Hiroto shockingly wakes up. The next day, Hiroto reports to the CEO his findings of a chip-sized quantum computer Kurogi completed and asks for permission to analyze. However, she denies his request to analyze it and tells him to find Dr. Kurogi's quantum computer and report back. Hiroto gets frustrated by it and argues with her that they are not letting him use his talent. Back at his house, Hiroto uses his skills to find the computer and dives deep. During his search, he remembers when his parents were murdered. Afterwards, Hiroto tells the CEO that the computer was planted in Hina's head, which explains her miraculous recovery and omniscience. Then they throw Hiroto out, saying his work is done. When Hiroto realizes Hina is in trouble, he warns her. As such, she tells everyone that her world will end soon, and her grandfather has been protecting her. They are then approached by men in suits. Everyone tries to protect her. Yuta holds her hand and runs away, and they stop at a place, where Hina asks why Yuta wants to protect her, to which she answers that he loves her, and everyone in the family loves her as well. However, she willingly surrenders. Episode 10. After Hina's departure, Yuta tries to move on with his life. While he is at school, during prayer, Yuta thinks about how he made all the efforts to track Hina and never found a trace. Yuta encounters Hiroto, who claims to be a new transfer student. He then hangs out with Yuta and his friends, playing basketball and having food at Fallen Angel. Time keeps passing, as Yuta is still missing Hina. Several months later, however, a frustrated Hiroto calls out Yuta for not understanding why he befriended him. Just as he's about to leave, Yuta catches up with him after he realizes Hiroto was recreating the days he spent with Hina. Hiroto reveals that Hina is alive, and he knows her location. Yuta asks to meet her. Hiroto tells him that she won't be the girl that he knew, and asks if Yuta is sure that he wants to meet her. Yuta says yes. Hiroto tells him to go and get packed. That night, he takes Yuta to the Yamada Sanatorium, the big white building where he gives him a false identity as a research assistant that is good for 2 weeks. And then he leaves. Yuta then enters the building. Inside, Yuta meets Shiba, a visiting researcher, and she takes him to see Hina. Yuta sees Hina and tries to talk to her. There, Shiba reveals that cranial surgery was performed on Hina, and she has an extreme fear of men. Seeing Hina's condition, Yuta agitates and asks to take her back. Shiba tells him that he can take her back, only if Hina will leave willingly, and suggests to Yuta that Hina will live her best life in the care of all female staff present here. After, Yuta is sitting somewhere, refusing to believe all that happened to Hina, and is unable to figure out what's right anymore. Episode 11. At the Yamada Sanatorium, Yuta observes Hina's daily routine from starting her day in the morning to her bedtime. He then does his report for the day. When he heads back to Hina's room, Yuta reveals that he is permitted to spend an hour with her from 5 to 6 p.m. every day for 2 weeks, and he tries to get Hina to recognize him. However, she rejects him. While Yuta is having tea with Shiba, she tells Yuta that he has to look Hina in the eye before he can gain her trust, and tells him how sanatorium facilities helped her. The second day, when Yuta meets her, he reads a story to her, but nothing changes. Yuta tries a few more things, but nothing happens. When they meet up again, she tells him that Hina might have lost her memories following the surgery. He will have to recreate those memories in a sense to get her to recognize him. A despondent Yuta is alone outside when he receives encouraging words from his friends and family. Motivated, he decides to bring a video game so Hina can play it. However, she gets stuck. While Shiba is comforting Hina, she reveals that she got in her line of work after her daughter died due to some diagnostic condition. Yuta later decides to play the game overnight in order to help Hina. The next day, while Hina is playing the game, she finally smiles and gets excited. Yuta is so happy seeing this and wishes the moment to freeze forever. When Shiba discovers Yuta's falsified reports, he is contacted by a security officer. Episode 12. While he is with Hina, Yuta is called out by Shiba and she tells him to leave. He then begs her to allow him to spend one last half day with Hina, and Shiba allows it. He then talks to Hina while she is playing the video game, and Hina could not recognize anything. Yuta is now leaving and he talks to Hina one last time. As he talks to Hina, she recognizes and pronounces the names of his family. However, when he shows her his picture, she throws it to the ground. After that, Shiba tells Yuta that his time is up. He is then forced out of the room. Just as he is about to leave, Hina starts crying and tries to walk towards Yuta. Saying Hina loves Yuta, Yuta runs towards Hina and catches her. Yuta then takes Hina home and meets everyone with Hina. Everyone agrees to restart the movie shoot. At the hill, Yuta decides to become a researcher, like Hina's grandfather, so he can cure her condition. After finally finishing the movie, everyone watches the movie together. At the end of the movie, Hina reveals in a making-of interview that her memories are so beautiful that they will never disappear, and she refers to them as an eternal treasure. Yuta decides that no matter what future holds for them, or what hardship they face, he will continue to be by Hina's side, and he's going to live with everything he's got, with Hina. And that's the end of the show. Like, share, and subscribe if you want more recaps, and hit the bell icon for regular notifications. Have a nice day. See you soon. See you